It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TVs, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Jim Minteer.
And this week, we're trying to make sense of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon, Jim. I don't know if you can follow it. I don't know if I can follow it. So we're going to try to make some sense of it today. Marvel on Disney Plus gets some new release schedule overall. We're going to talk about what has been moved around. Mostly delays, but not dismays, as someone once told me. So we can, keep that rock and rolling. Nic Cage just can't escape our hearts or our movies, and he could return as Ghostrider yet again. Maybe this year, maybe next year, maybe farther. We don't know yet, and more. So as people may notice, we don't have Mike today. We have Jim, super fan, special guest host. Jim, how are you doing, Jim?
I'm good. Thank you for letting me come on.
Yes, thanks for being here. Mike is somewhere to be found. I don't know where he is. We tried to put an Apple AirTag on him. He found it and threw it off, so we don't know where he is anymore today. So what I mean, before we get into this, anything you want to talk about? We always break down a little bit this weekend. It's Labor Day, so obviously thank you for taking your Labor Day holiday and spending it with me doing this. But this weekend I went and found a couple retro video games for my brother-in-law's birthday, which kind of took me down a path, like getting, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 for regular Nintendo. I got a multi-tap for PlayStation 1. Are you familiar with multi-taps?
Yeah.
The 4-player adapter for those.
Yep.
Frogger for PS1, which was my wife's request, and then also some VHS tapes at like a little peddler's mall. So the Muppet ones, obviously Muppet Christmas Carol and Muppets from Space, because I have to have my Muppets at the end of the day. But So what have you been up to lately? How have you been?
Well, actually, I got a car that's acting up, so I get to spend some money on that this week to replace an alternator. And then also this weekend, I got an email from Nintendo that it is their Blockbuster sale, which is funny because it's only like 25 titles.
Uh-huh.
And some of them I would consider blockbusters, and others I would say are nominal at best. But I did get Sifu, that Kung Fu game, for a pretty steep discount. I think it was like 40% off. So I've been dabbling with that a little bit when I have a chance.
And you said that's on your Switch?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, your Switch. Yeah. I mean, it's a good week for games. Starfield came out for PC and early access for Xbox this week, right? That's Bethesda's their Skyrim in space, if you will. I know a lot of people love Skyrim. They've released it on every console known to man a dozen times over and over.
Yes.
I was gonna say my Spider-Man 2 PlayStation 5 controller came in, the one that's themed with it. So that's pretty exciting. I haven't even opened it. I was like, "Have you opened it?" I'm like, I'm scared to open it. Like, it's so, precious to me, because my PlayStation 4 is the Spider-Man 1 PlayStation 4. So very excited to add that to the collection. But it's a good weekend for video games, it sounds like, over there.
Yeah, not too bad. Especially for those that don't know, I at 42 years old decided to become a teacher. So I'm dealing with being a first-year teacher this year on top of everything else. So I needed the distraction for a little bit.
Yeah. What age level do you teach?
High school. I'm doing English. So I got freshmen, sophomore, and seniors.
Okay. No. Just a nice amalgamation. Now, I've seen some photos, a video walkthrough of your room, if you will, and you have decked it out in Indiana Jones references to beat the band. Really. So how's the reception been to that so far?
Indiana Jones and Superman are the two big decorations, and pretty good. They always ask me why I like Superman so much, so then I got to tell my Henry Cavill story to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice.
That's good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wish I wish my teachers would have been that cool to, have some references of comic book characters or even Indiana Jones. So, well, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, all right. So, if nothing else, with no further ado, Jim, you ready to jump into some notes here? We've got 2 weeks of notes. Now, we were off last week. News has been kind of quiet, to be completely honest. A lot of rumors, and I'm like, we don't need the rumors, but we're gonna jump into some news here if that's all right with you.
Yep, let's go.
Awesome. All right. So first and foremost, Barbie. Have you seen Barbie yet, Jim?
Unfortunately, no. It's been on my list, and again, because I've been busy, and my 2 teenage daughters do not want to see it. So,
Well, they are absolutely missing out. I enjoyed myself watching Barbie. And it's about to come out to digital, but in other news, it is now the highest grossing movie for Warner Brothers, passing The Joker and Dark Knight, 2 properties that I would say have a more rabid fan base, if you will, than Barbie. So that is saying something, I think, at the end of the day.
yeah, Barbie's been kind of the summer movie event this year, and if you'd asked me 6 months ago what I thought it would have been, that would have been towards the bottom of my list, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, there has always so much hyperbole in movies, right? And I've talked about this before with James Gunn saying that The Flash is the greatest superhero movie ever made.
Right.
Not even close. Not the worst either. By far the worst. So the detractors on the other side, absolutely, completely wrong. However, when people are like, "Oh, Barbie's going to be like a $1 billion movie," I'm like, well, it can be good, but it's not going to be $1 billion. I was very, very skeptical of that, but here we are. I believe it may have even passed $1 billion. So I'm gonna look it up here, but yeah, I think it's coming out on digital pretty soon as well, right? Would that be something more up your alley since you can watch it at home? Then you don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely give it a shot. Maybe even when it lands on streaming. So I guess that would be Max if it's a WB property.
Yes, and I believe they've even delayed the digital release because a lot of those contracts were made before movies take off and are through the roof. It's $1.36 billion globally, Jim. And it's one of those movies which is like counterintuitive. Most like Avatar is like 60 to 75% international, but this one has 600 million in North America alone, which was just past Mario this year, which is 574 million domestically. So two huge, I guess, domestic wins this year, right, for the theater. Now, I think this is going to go kind of against us. Nothing against Barbie, but against the theaters in general. Like, there's been a lot of movies this year, right? Like, literally, I like going to the movies, but I can't go every week. What about you?
Yeah, I've been really limited. I could go every week with the variety, but
Yeah,
monetarily, I haven't been able to afford it very much. So, yeah, that's kind of why I missed Barbie too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that I think it's it's one of those things. Obviously it was the weekend they call it Barbenheimer, right? Barbie and Oppenheimer, and 2 opposite ends of the spectrum there on movie. What you're watching at the end of the day, but really, there's just been a lot. So I'm glad to see this one, obviously take off, and again, as people have said, in Hollywood, even the studios are going to mess up the message of this movie being the biggest one. It's not about toys, right? Barbie wasn't the movie's not about the toys. It's about the messaging, and it's really been pretty good. I just looked it up as well. And it's Barbie's Warner Brothers. One of their highest worldwide release of all time was Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, which is 1.34 billion, not adjusted for inflation. So this is the biggest domestic title, and I believe maybe even international ever at Warner Brothers in the past 100 years. Wow. So that is phenomenal for that. And hopefully, if people are listening to this and like, it can't be that good, it's pretty entertaining. It is an entertaining film with some good messaging. So hopefully, when it comes to digital, we can all put those Max subscriptions to the test. I don't use mine hardly as much as I should. I feel bad, but it's included with my phone, so I don't feel like I'm paying for it and not using it kind of deal. So.
Right. No, I use mine a little bit. There's a few TV shows on there we like to watch a lot. Warrior, it just wrapped up. That's a good one. But I was going to say, do you suppose Barbie's popularity is due to counter programming? Because always the summer blockbusters anymore are usually like the big tentpole action movies, superhero movies. things like that, where this is more of a
Yeah.
lighthearted comedy with bright colors and
I would say once you watch it, you're gonna see how lighthearted it isn't.
oh
It's a
really?
pretty
Okay.
serious movie. Like it's got some real good stuff. Like it seems goofy from maybe the trailers, but it's got some pretty good messaging in it. But like it's just a solid film. I think that's why, right? And then also, it's one of those things akin to it's a movie for women, and women are gonna take, them and their girlfriends are gonna go out and have a good time watching Barbie together and having some drinks and just making a day out of it. And that's awesome. Like that is really cool because
Right.
I know I've made evenings out with the guys, right? We all went out and had some drinks, watched a movie kind of thing. So I think that helps. But, it is a very solid movie at the end of the day. But it is, like you mentioned, a stark contrast to, again, Oppenheimer, the movie that dropped on the same day, right? Like a very serious, this is cinema. You got to watch this because it was filmed on real film. And, there's no, visual effects, even though there's a little bit of visual effects in here.
Right.
So I wouldn't say maybe counter programming, but like, it's just it's a choice. And obviously Barbie is how long's that doll been around? 70 plus years, 80 plus years. So
Yeah, something like that.
yeah, it's pretty entertaining. Now it's gonna be, I don't want to talk about it yet, but like I'm excited for people to watch this. But yeah, absolutely, congratulations on being the highest grossing movie.
Right.
For one of
That's
they
excellent.
needed a win this year. Really.
Yeah. Or
On
for the decade.
Yeah, that's true. Well, yeah, since I guess Harry Potter too. So, well, like the Joker made some money. That was pretty good.
True.
In a different way. Again, more like an Oppenheimer. But
Mhm.
Dune. We're supposed to speaking of Warner Brothers. Dune has been delayed. Part 2 has been delayed from November of this year to March 15th of next year, 2024. And I believe this to be primarily directed at the current SAG-AFTRA strikes, right? If you can't have your actors promoting a movie, you're probably not going to get a lot of people to watch it. So I think that's it. I don't think, again, we are in an era where delays are no indication of quality of the film, right? I think Dune's done and is probably in the can and ready to go. They just want to make sure it has a very, very large audience when it hits theaters, because that first one was very risky, right? Dune. Have you ever seen the original Dune from the 80s?
Actually, when I was going to watch it, and then several people told me it felt like it was 2/3 of a movie. Like, maybe you even said that in your review too.
The new one. I'm talking about the original one from the 80s, not part
Oh,
one.
the original from the 80s. Yeah. Long time ago. I haven't revisited it recently.
Yeah, and then and then obviously they're like, okay, Doom's it's an unfilmable book, and then they were able to make it. And absolutely, it is half the novel of the original book. So, but absolutely phenomenal. I bought it on Prime Day on 4K whenever it came out. Under $10, and I'm very excited to watch part 2. But yeah, absolutely. If they have like a 2, I mean, I wouldn't recommend someone sit in the theater for 6 hours when part 2 comes out. Like part 1 and 2, you're going to be tired of the sand, if you will, turn into a little Darth Vader yourself. But absolutely, I think that part 1's worth watching before you go and watch part 2. But yeah, it just gets a little more time for you to do that, right? You don't have to go in November. To me, this is my little birthday treat, since my birthday's in March. I'm like, great, I got to go watch Dune 2, even more Dune. So
yeah, I was just gonna wait to where I could watch the first part and then stroll into a movie theater and watch part 2 instead of the agonizing wait.
Mm-hmm. I will say, this is one of those movies. Part 1 came out on Max. It was part of the HBO. We're hijacking the theatrical release day with this. And you can watch it home. This is one of those movies. Part 1, I would say, it's probably gonna be just as much with part 2. I really feel you have to put down all your distractions to watch this movie, because it is dense. It is well, it's not dense. It's just very. Hey, there's some long stuff here. There's some really weird words because you're on an alien planet with alien civilizations. You don't see a lot of aliens, but they're obviously they're humanoids. But like there's the Kwisatz Haderach and all this other things like Maud Dib, and you're like, what are these words? And if you don't pay attention, you're gonna like lose that definition pretty quick. But very, very excited. I think this does it now. Where does Wonka fall in it for Timothée Chalamet? Did that get moved? Yeah, December 15th. So he's gonna have Wonka before he has Dune Part 2 again.
Oh wow, yeah.
For Chalamet. Yeah. So it's gonna as long as it doesn't get delayed, right? Wonka is it's on that movie kind of thing where like, yeah, you could probably get delayed this year. Now, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, that makes me think about December. Do you know when that's coming out? Because I am not good with dates right now. It's December 20th, so a week later.
Okay.
So Warner Brothers is dropping, looks like 2 movies back to back. Is this Warner? Yeah, Warner Brothers. So 2 movies back to back in December. At this current rate, now things might get delayed. Things may not get delayed. So we'll keep you guys posted as more comes out.
So they'll own Christmas just by a war of attrition.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Are you gonna go see Wonka with the family? Or are you gonna go see Aquaman? Nobody wins in the Christmas movie battle this year. But in speaking of DC and sad news, the Nightwing movie is confirmed dead at Warner Brothers. Obviously, this was originally announced well before the James Gunn Peter Safran takeover, and probably even before they were even purchased by Discovery. Chris McKay was attached to it, but no longer in the works over there.
So was this going to be an extension of Snyder's universe?
I don't know.
Okay.
Technically, it could have been. It could have also not been, because they never really touched on what's Robin's. Is it Tim Drake? No. Who's Nightwing?
Is Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson, and they never really touched on Dick Grayson. I think they said it was Tim Drake in that Batman outfit, or the Robin suit, right, in the Bat Cave.
Oh, right.
So I think there was an opportunity that they could have if they wanted to, but why poison yourself really before you begin? That's a rough crowd there, but we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, Nightwing no longer in that. There's a rumor this week that possibly Batman, the Batman 2 movie may include a Dick Grayson / Robin, but there's no confirmation. Screenplays aren't being written right now. Actors aren't getting deals right now, so all these quote unquote news of script things and story beats and like actors signing for things are totally not true. So I'm like, you got to be real careful during the strike. What you put out there is news. So absolutely. On the flip side, other movie that came out this year, The Flash, is debuted extremely low on the Max streaming service, Jim. Like really low. Like apparently it only had 1.1 million views compared to the Batman's 4.1 million views when it debuted on there. So am I surprised? I did actually, to be completely honest, I didn't see any advertising. This was coming to Max, so I think I missed the release date. Not saying I'd be one of the extra people watching it, but feel like they really just kind of shoveled that one under the rug.
Yeah, if I wouldn't have listened to you guys, I don't know if I would have known the date either. But I can't say, I will say it's a much better movie than that. Yeah. But I can't say too much because I haven't streamed it yet either.
Yeah.
So I obviously didn't lend my eyes to that number.
Right. Did you watch it in theater by chance?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Okay. I figured, but it's like one of the things I don't have a desire to revisit this movie. Like I've seen it. Is there anything I'm going to get out of it again? Maybe that's why.
I'm the same way. It was great seeing Keaton back, which that's kind of crazy that we're talking about a Flash movie and all the talking points are about Michael Keaton as Batman.
Are about Batman, yeah, and Superman, Supergirl, I guess too. Yeah.
And then of course, spoiler alert for those, the ending where you see the universes. Of course, I got a little tingle out of that, but I mean, is that enough to make me watch it again and again? No. Sorry.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think some of the best parts of this movie are like we've said it could be YouTube clips, right?
Yep,
at the end of the day, does it? I mean, I'm not upset I watched it in theaters, but I just don't have a desire to go back and revisit it. Maybe I can watch someone's breakdown of stuff, but and then the Batman alone, that's a whole different. It's a little unfair to compare it to the Batman, even though they're both DC characters, and the Flash has a lot of Batman in it, a lot of Batman, really, if you will. But it's just it's one of those things. Word of mouth can kill it in streaming and in theaters, I guess. At the end of the day, so maybe Tom Cruise is one of those 1 million people rewatching The Flash.
Maybe he's watched it 1 million times.
Yeah. Now he probably bought it on a film reel, and really watching his home theater kind of thing on film, like it should be watched. Jim, without motion. Was it motion blur? He always says turn off the motion smoothing. Yeah. But also, we're going to step out of the DC universe, but into someone who has a very large thumbprint on the DC universe, and that's Rebel Moon by Zack Snyder. We got our first, I'm going to say the first trailer during Gamescom about 2 weeks ago. And I watched it right before we hopped on the microphone again. And I will say, much like Zack Snyder's movies, this trailer is 2 times as long as it should be, and not enough substance to really get me interested. But they say that this is his quote unquote Star Wars, right? 7 samurai in space and sci-fi. I like a good sci-fi movie. It's voiced over by, I believe, Anthony Hopkins, right?
Yep.
Who might be doing one of the things. I don't really know what to make of it, other than the obvious allegories that are the space Nazis, and like literal, like they're like they look like space Nazis, and then also there's this one, the main girl who has a destiny to go get a bunch of people together to fight the space Nazis. And one of the things I didn't think was real but got announced is that this movie's literally being split into 2 parts. So they took his 200-page script, split it into 2. So he's got part 1, Rebel Moon, A Child of Fire, and that'll be on Netflix December 22nd, 2023. Another Christmas no prize for anybody who's counting this episode. And then part 2, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, will debut on April 19th, 2024. So 4 months later, which actually a lot less than I thought we'd have to wait to see the second part of this, right?
Yeah.
Very, very impressed with that. So before there's another bullet point here. I don't want to touch on it yet, Jim. Don't read that don't touch on that second bullet point yet. But is there anything else about this trailer or these 2 parts on Netflix, by the way, this is Netflix, that has you jazzed, has you unjazzed? What do you feel?
Well, my reaction to it was I forgot that this was an adaptation of his original idea for a Star Wars movie, and that is very prevalent in the trailer. And to me, my initial reaction was kind of like the chocolate in my peanut butter was, you got Star Wars in my Dune. So that's what I kind of walked away with. I'm interested. I'll admit I'll probably watch it, but it just feels done before. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it doesn't feel new.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, we've it feels very Zack Snyder, if you will. Like maybe he's like taken all of his movies he's done, including again his original ideas such as Girls Dancing, but it's a video game. What is that one called? Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch. Yep.
Sucker Punch. Watchmen. Some Justice League stuff here. He's kind of mixed them all together. Even a little bit of that zombie movie, Army of the Dead, that he kind of had in here a little bit.
Oh, right.
And kind of giving it forward. Now, there's a bunch of good actors in here. The cast looks pretty good. Can't fault them for that. The effects, some people have called out a little wonky, but it's a trailer. He's got several months to polish this up, and it's also on Netflix, right? I'm not paying a movie ticket twice to go see this. You just have it on Netflix if you already have Netflix, or you get 1 month on and off. Really not too bad, right? At the end of the day, the price of admission. Right. So I'm not expecting a tier, an S tier film. I'm expecting like an A tier film. But I'm not jazzed, right? I don't feel like hype about it. And you may hit a point that it doesn't look new. It looks like it's tried and tropey, if you will.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. And I'm a Zack Snyder apologist. I enjoy a lot of his stuff. Sucker Punch, I'll give you. I did not care for that one much, but as mentioned earlier, I've got a very big soft spot for his Superman work, Man of Steel, and Batman vs Superman and stuff. So with that in mind, I'm interested to see what he does with it. But from the trailer, it's some sizzle, but I don't know if it's any substance.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's flair, nothing to it. Now, I will tell you, Jim, you were asking yourself, Zack Snyder has full control over these movies. No one's telling him what to do. So these have to be his director's cuts. There cannot be any more versions of these movies. Well, guess what? You're wrong. You're wrong, Jim, because Zack Snyder has already said he is preparing director's cuts of these movies, both of them. So not only is he in charge of these movies that are releasing uncut, there are literally no restrictions on Netflix, right? Like you don't have to put them in theaters and sell with ratings. He's doing director's cuts, even longer versions of this. And of all the things, I would say Zack Snyder, he's making movies, he's doing things, he's sticking to his guns, by God, but doing director's cuts of things that he's already doing himself has got to be the biggest marketing shtick I've ever seen. Like, that is, if that's what he learned doing at Warner Brothers, because they let him do his director's cut or extended cut of Batman v Superman, and then also his own Justice League, and this is what he's walking away with. This has got to be the dumbest thing ever. Like, I hate the idea so much that he's just doing director's cuts, because there is literally there's no I guess railing on him at Netflix, right? Like, they don't care how long it is. Yeah, just put out your movie. But he's like, no, guess what? We're gonna do this again, and I'm gonna release them twice later. I'm doubling down on all my movies going forward, because you're gonna get the my original edition, and then my director's cut edition. So
Well, it makes you wonder if, like, the director's cut is somehow combining both of them into one long movie.
yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think it's gonna be one of those things where, I feel like he did this with Justice League, is take the internet's feedback and just do more to like, oh yeah, I plan to do that the whole time, kind of thing. I'm a little cynical about him. Okay, I'm a little cynical, but
right.
But I think the idea is, go ahead and release them. Don't do director's cuts. Go work on your next thing. Take a shotgun approach. Eventually, if you throw enough stuff at the wall, something will stick and people will enjoy. Yep. Everyone as a whole will enjoy your work again, Mr. Snyder. Yeah, I don't know. But I think that, to me, that he's already preparing director's cuts of these films that are going to Netflix and not anywhere else is just mind-blowing. But you can't win them all, man. You can't win them all.
Right. Well, that's okay.
That's okay. It's just Netflix. It's just the cost of a Netflix subscription. There's
exactly.
going to be more on there to watch. It'll be fine. All right, let's shift some gears. Let's get into Marvel for a little bit. We got some Marvel for not the rest of the show. Okay, most of the rest of the show. Next half. So She-Hulk. Apparently, a season 2 is in the works at Disney for Disney Plus, and this was before the writer's strike kind of put a halt on it. But I feel this is not surprising, right? This feels kind of like a real not an announcement, but a real kind of insider information, if you will.
Yeah. I definitely think the first season did well enough. In my opinion, it deserves a second season. So I'm pretty happy to hear about this.
Yeah, they said a lot of people tuned in for She-Hulk, right? First and foremost, again, the 20-minute bite-sized episode's pretty good for that show. Obviously, the addition of Charlie Cox's Daredevil later on. A lot of people talked about. A lot of people did enjoy it. Whether the vocal minority who hates women on the internet drowned them out or not, a lot of people did watch it and did enjoy it. So I think this is fine. I think I would say the takeaway for season 2 would be you don't need to focus so much on her, again, getting her powers for the first time or learning to control them. She should have a grasp on that, right? And really just dive into the zanier stuff of the MCU.
Or are they going to do the super fun trope of she loses her powers because it's the second movie or second season?
I hope not. I really, really hope not, because she can control it. I think one of the things they should do is, because she's now working at a law firm that I guess like accepts her and isn't making her like the mascot, they could really maybe focus on some courtroom zaniness, if you will. Yeah. We had the Mr. Invincible or whatever it was, who was in the one episode briefly. There's probably some other powered characters she can represent across the world. And depending on when this comes out, whether that's in the middle of Secret Wars, like what if it was in the middle of Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, where like she's a lawyer on Battleworld kind of thing, like, and she's dealing with all sorts of multiversal lawsuits. I think that would be entertaining.
That could be interesting. Yeah, that would be real good.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities here, and because it literally is a tongue-in-cheek talk to the camera, break the fourth wall, I think that really opens up the opportunities here to have some fun.
Oh yeah.
Now, are you as interested in the MCU timeline as I am? Because I get like almost, I wouldn't say like very into it, but I'm always curious where things kind of lie, really, at the end of the day, right? Because things aren't always in release order. You can have them come out in any order and then put them like place them anywhere, like Black Widow, right? It was later, but existed in between Civil War and Infinity War, right? So
Right.
I always get very focused about this, and thankfully for people like me, the Marvel is releasing a book, the MCU Timeline, this September that you can buy. It's hardcover, and it will supposedly follow the entire MCU all the way up through Loki season 2, which will be kicking off as soon as the book comes out.
Oh wow.
Which is
That's
crazy
cool.
because Loki's a
Yeah.
different timeline.
Yeah, true. Maybe they
For
need
that.
a sub book for just that.
Right. The multiversal book. Let me
Yeah.
see here. I pull up at Marvel Studios, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, an official timeline. It's only $30, which I think is great for a hardcover book. Like
Wow. Yeah.
that's pretty affordable. I'm actually going to link it into the show notes here because I got a couple other links on Amazon that I've purchased. So I think it's pretty good. Now there was some feedback on this earlier this last month. The original cover for this when it was announced had the Scarlet Witch on it, but they've since replaced the Scarlet Witch with Loki and Sylvie from Loki on the cover, which I think that's fine, right? I don't care
Right.
what's on the cover. The contents are what matters to me. And then when you start clicking through it on Amazon, you can see the timeline and some tidbits about the movies. Obviously, the fun part about all this, Jim, is that we got to see this kind of come through from the beginning rather than the end. So like obviously none of this where we are today was not planned out in 2007 when they started filming these movies. So it's kind of
Right.
fun to see how they've retrofitted a lot of this because originally Joss Whedon wasn't directing the Avengers or writing the Avengers movie, the first one. They were going to have the Hulk be the villain like the comic
Yep.
books, and they were able to pull that together and come together and honestly, against all odds, create a movie that everybody enjoys. So, and that, whether you feel like we have too much now or not enough, that's, that's all personal preference. But I'm excited to get this book. And actually, it used to be $50, and it's down to $30. So
Oh,
I'm
nice.
going to start pre-ordering this book here. I'm going to leave this tab open for when the show's over.
Yeah, I might have to as well. Do they go into like, is it strictly just the story beats, or do they go into like behind the scenes on the movies and stuff, like their development?
So I will say I won't know how much of the development this is because it's a timeline, but one of the pages in here is entirely dedicated to the Hulk, his timeline and growth through the movies.
Oh, okay.
And you looking at it, it doesn't have any photos of Edward Norton, but it starts with his movie, and going through the Avengers, and then when he was on Sakaar, and then with Thor, Secret Wars, or not Secret Wars. Infinity War, Endgame, and then obviously ending with him with She-Hulk there at the end of his little page. So
Right.
I don't think it'll be behind the scenes, but it's probably going to be with a lot of timelines overall and then for individual characters. So it'll be a good reference point,
Yeah.
I think. And this is the official one, so obviously we have things. If something's wrong in the movies, we can always refer back to this, right? And be like, well, this is where we have it in print. We're gonna go with this. So
Right. Yeah,
check
that's
that.
cool.
Yeah. Check that out in our show notes if you think you're gonna pick it up. We don't make any money off these Amazon links, so don't worry. We are not getting any funds off this. So buy it to your heart's content. Or if you know someone who likes Marvel, it's a great Christmas present. That's what I always tell people. These books and the art books of the TV shows and movies make great Christmas presents for people if you don't know what to get them. So.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to continue our shopping journey through Amazon, Jim, here with Loki, the 4K series. The show, the first season, is being released on 4K in a steelbook later this month. One of two shows from Marvel getting the physical treatment, if you will. Also, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Is the steelbook through Amazon or is that through Best Buy?
Everywhere. The steelbook, it's
everywhere.
only in steelbook. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So it's $50 for Loki season 1 on 4K. And they're doing this with Loki, and we're going to talk about WandaVision, Mandalorian season 1 and season 2. Now, I will tell you, I know exactly why they're doing this, Jim. It is to make money off of these shows because they were not making money on the streaming service as much as they thought, right? So what do you do with those shows? You package them into a quote unquote limited release and send them home with people. So Loki and WandaVision are coming out September 26th, so the end of this month. I've gone ahead and pre-ordered my Loki season 1. I think it's great. that they're doing this. There are some special exclusive scenes, including an extended look at the Throg scene, where it's the Frog Thor scene that was cut from the show in here as well.
Nice.
So you do get a little bit of extra, not a whole lot, but I'm going to be putting this right on my shelf with everything else because, as we've seen with Disney, they will take anything off Disney Plus to save $1. So gonna hold these down for a rainy day, if you will. Maybe they'll release a VHS copy soon, Jim. I don't know.
Yeah, that leads me into I hope that they would maybe re-release the Netflix series on physical.
Yeah, I have Daredevil and Jessica Jones, a couple of seasons of those, and a couple Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. I don't know if they will or not, but that would be a good, like, I would buy a Defenders bundle, right? The Defenders you get this one case and you get them all kind of deal.
Right.
So I would 100% be down with that.
Yeah, I know Daredevil, any of them now are all but impossible to find.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They're very, very short run. Yeah. So I've got a couple of them. I thought about selling them until they pulled them off Netflix. So I'm like, well, never mind. They're worth a pretty penny. But I was joking with my wife. I'm like, oh, they don't come with a digital code so I can stream them. And she was like, well, I'm just joking because they're on Disney Plus. But the other one is obviously WandaVision. These are the two of the people's favorite shows, right? From when the Disney Plus launched with Marvel. So you get a steelbook of WandaVision as well, and it's got obviously steelbook with the Vision and Scarlet Witch in their outfits, and then their retro looks as well. I think these are cool. Again, owning physical copies is not for everybody. I totally understand. You don't have to get them, but if you do, Marvel is releasing some of them now. The question is going to be, since they're doing Mandalorian 1, 2, Loki, and this, what other shows on Disney Plus, Jim, would you want to see?
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking that while you were asking. That's a good question. I don't know that I would get many other ones, to be honest. Star Wars wise, I might get Kenobi if they release that.
Yeah.
But Marvel wise, like Falcon and Winter Soldier was okay. It's not when I go back and watch again. Oh, Hawkeye! I would get Hawkeye for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking, you said that Andor I think would be a pretty good one as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Andor. Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't feel normal. Yeah, Hawkeye. I think I would put them all, everything but What If. I don't care about What If enough to own it on physical. But like again, Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and She-Hulk. Like, yeah, that'd be pretty good, right? Like I think those would be pretty good to revisit. Or just have them on a shelf. I like having my MCU timeline on a shelf.
I was gonna say they'd look good on a shelf no matter what. So
yeah, especially with that. And then obviously, Secret Invasion, coming out this year, Secret Invasion, Loki season 2, and we'll talk about some other ones here in a minute. But yeah, I think I like to see them all. There's not really as many shows as I thought there was going to be. I don't need I Am Groot on 4K, but
right.
Again, what if is such a weird show to me, but maybe they could bundle them together. But anyway, we have these links in our show notes to get those if you want to get them. WandaVision is coming out in November, not September. I lied. So it's coming out, and you can make that someone's Christmas present. Get that for the person you love who doesn't have Disney Plus because they keep raising the rates every time we turn around.
Right.
But speaking of Disney Plus, the MCU shows the upcoming schedule, if you will, not Loki season 2, but everything after has literally been shifted and mostly delayed, except for one. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Now, we've mentioned before previously, after Loki season 2, we're going to get Echo, and Echo is supposed to come out the Friday after Thanksgiving and be all in like one burst, right? All episodes in one go. Well, it has been moved from November release to a January 2024 window completely.
Right.
My guess is there's two reasons behind this. One, we're going to defer back to the SAG-AFTRA strikes, right? You can't have your people promoting their shows if they're on strike. Easy right. Answer. Right. The second answer I would say to this is with Bob Iger coming back and wanting to make Marvel more of an event kind of, content. Having it come out the Friday after Loki ends is not event content planning. That is like, hey, we just got to get this done. My guess is they probably renegotiated some contracts to get this out an extra month, right? Like we understand, we have to have it out by the end of the year, but we've rearranged some contracts, spent a little extra money to make this stand alone and be more event driven, if you will.
Right. And I guess the way I look at it, but I'm also skewed in the way the holidays go. You want some people's eyeballs on your content when they have time off, and
Yeah.
the weekend of Thanksgiving would have been a good one for that. So it makes me wonder when in January they're moving this to. Is it the beginning, like right at the tail end of the holidays, or are they pushing it to like maybe towards the middle or end?
Yeah. That's a great question. I could easily see it being later January because with Deadpool being delayed from February to May so far, and who knows if that'll be delayed again. They need something in that first quarter, right? For
Right.
Marvel, and so far we have nothing in that first quarter. So Echo would be a good show for that to do that with. But in this regard, it's going to back up a little bit. What If season 2, which we had been heard had been delayed till the end of 2024, is actually coming out Christmas 2023.
Oh, I should have read ahead a little bit before I said that.
Yeah. So What If season 2 is coming out Christmas time. Now I have seen a lot of action figures from this hitting the shelves this past month. A lot of was it the metal Hydra Stomper, right? The Steve Rogers in the suit.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the other toys. Things we won't talk about because we won't be able to be surprised. But they have moved this up to Christmas time, 2023. So that makes me think they feel like maybe more confident. They may drop all 9 episodes at once, right? Since it's animated. Do a binge model over the holidays for kids, right? That's a great time for kids holidays when they're off school. So I think that's good. I mean, I'm not excited to watch it, but I think that's a good plan, right?
It depends on the scenarios they come up with for What If, because I mean, even back when they were making the comic books, they were hit and miss for me.
Right.
And kind of the same with season 1. Some of them were great, and other ones were like, I think they could have figured something else out. But I understand what they were doing. But is there a certain action figure that would make you want to buy one over another, or do you just notice that they were out and thought they were cool?
I just noticed the full set because usually what happens when these come out, they come out in full sets, right? Like you get a whole thing. So I was noticing the full sets on the shelves. I always see the Hydra Stomper because he takes up so much space compared to everybody else because it's like two size wide than the other one. So I always see him, but that's nothing that really made me. And I think we talked about last week the Iron Man Sakaran armor that's coming out as well from when he was on the Collector's Planet, because that episode was obviously originally season 1, it's now coming out in season 2. It'll probably be the first episode, right? Like, hey, we need to. People have been waiting on this. Why was they in the end of the last, the team up episode of What If? So to me this is great. I think this also makes Echo move to later January as well to get some space from this, right at the end. So I think that answers that. Now the next show after Echo in 2024 will be called Agatha, the Darkhold Diaries. So that name change seems to have stuck from the chair we covered a couple months ago, right? It was originally again Agatha, House of Harkness, now Coven of Chaos, and now to the Darkhold Diaries. I don't care what the name is, just we all kind of get the idea here, but the name's changed, and it's coming early fall 2024. So they are skipping most of spring and summer with these TV shows, Mike. Or sorry, Mike, Jim. Sorry, haven't. It's a compliment, really, because it feels like we're talking. But anyway, like they're skipping most of next year between shows, between Echo to straight to Agatha in the fall.
Now, this raises a question for me. Do you think this is too long between Scarlet Witch and the Agatha series?
This kind of suffers from what I call the Black Widow syndrome, right? Where they made that movie way too late, and then it was delayed even further. Possibly, it could. Now, mind you, does it matter if maybe they're like, hey, do you remember this character from WandaVision? Here she is, and they don't touch WandaVision as much, maybe, but it really all depends on how they present it, right? Like a lot of these shows have been filmed. Agatha's been filmed for a while. we'll talk about Ironheart in a minute. That's been filmed and done for a while, right? Like who came out in Black Panther. So like, obviously when they first planned these, they were supposed to be boom, 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 boom. That obviously not working very well. The streaming service isn't bringing people in. They're not hitting those numbers. So they just need to make it again, like Bob Iger said, event focused. So if they're doing this event focused one for the holiday, the fall, it makes sense. So I understand what you're asking, but I don't know if it matters at the end of the day.
Okay. Yeah, just in my opinion, it feels like it's been stretched a little too far. Not that my care level is lower, but it just seems like the relevance is a lot lower unless she pops up in something else before then to kind of jog viewers' memories.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's weird that she got a standalone show. If I'm going to be honest, it's weird that this character got a standalone show out of everyone else out there, right? At the end of the day. So it's just, this is a weird character. This and Echo, like the two characters, I'm like, okay, I get it, but I don't need them. What is Agatha going to be tying to? I guess I don't care where it starts, but where does it end, right? What is the effects of this magic users at the end of the day?
I was gonna say, unless they use her as more of explaining the whole Marvel world of magic more so than Doctor Strange and Wanda did. Because they kind of told us some stuff about like her level of magic versus kind of like what Doctor Strange's is, but they never really got into, is it like the spectrum that like the Green Lanterns have,
right? Yeah,
or the Lanterns have, so there's different styles of magic or different focuses
where you tap into
I think something like that would be really neat if they could dive into that.
Yeah,
and I think it would be useful too for just the general populace to know, but if it's just to get Catherine Hahn more screen time, I don't know if that's what we need.
Well, it's got Aubrey Plaza as the villain, so I'm down.
Okay, yeah, I'm back in.
Okay, yeah, exactly. See, I think they got a good cast, but like again, what are the consequences of these shows, right? We've talked about this. We talked about She-Hulk. She-Hulk ended literally showing the Hulk has a son from Sakaar, right?
Right.
What have we done with that? Right.
Yeah,
the
true.
Eternals has a Eternal sitting out of the not Eternal, a Celestial pulling out of the ocean. What have they done with that? I get there's like some long-term goals and some long-term payoffs coming, but I want to know more now than wait another, again, almost a year. We're a year away from next fall. Fall's not even here yet, right?
Right.
We're a year away. I mean, we have till we even see this. So hopefully they will finally get their quote unquote shit together and start tying this up a little bit better. On that note, I was going to say Ironheart, just to before I forget, is that it's also missing from the fall 2023 schedule that was originally here, but it's presumed to be possibly even late next year as the filming for this has been done and they're just sitting on it for a while, right? We are coming up on a year of Wakanda Forever, right? Is it 1 year? Has it been 2 years? No, it's just 1 year. And then, by the time they, another year pass, will be 2+ years between Ironheart appearances, right? So, again, character, why do we have this character here? What is she doing? She's a sub character in Wakanda Forever. They all don't need little specials. So maybe we could reel them back in a bit. But knowing that it's already filmed, we'll probably be sitting on this one for a while as well.
Right.
All right. So we started this at the top of the show. Ghostrider. Nic Cage is rumored to return as Ghostrider, quote unquote, sooner than you think in the MCU, Jim. And the front running option is Deadpool 3, right? Obviously, anything that touches Fox's universe, including Ghostrider, that's where I would think he would pop up as Ghostrider.
Right. Yeah.
My other option is maybe Ghostrider's in What If, and it does a voice cameo role instead.
That would be cool too, yeah.
Because What Ifs could touch on those multi-universes that we have have Fox characters in them. So, of these, where would you put Nicolas Cage in the MCU, Jim?
I think the most effective and fun one would definitely be Deadpool 3. To let Ryan Reynolds run some jokes and stuff off of that.
Skewer it up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. And then, but You know, maybe I'm outing myself, but I'm a fan of the Ghostrider movies. I think they're fun. And now, are they like the definitive great superhero movie? No, but you can pop some popcorn and watch one. So I'm kind of excited about this.
Yeah, I think the first one's okay. The second one's really where he starts to get into the crazy parts of Ghostrider, right? Like if you go watch the
Yep.
behind the scenes where he's painted his face up so they can CGI it later, and he's doing like the ticking, like with his head and stuff like that. And that's one where he's pissing fire too, from the
Yep.
trailer. So I think that's an opportunity to kind of skewer that a bit. But I think Nicolas Cage, especially after a movie he just did, right? Cameo he just did. I think he could probably lean into this a little bit as well and do
Right.
that.
Maybe have dialogue this time.
Oh, why do that? Why
Why do that?
Why would they give him something like that? That's just crazy. What? Don't do that. But anyway, yeah, I think Nicolas Cage. He's we're not in the Nicolas Cage-a-thons, but he's like embracing some of the weirder roles, right? And
Right.
my concern at the end of the day is not Nicolas Cage. Is Deadpool 3 just cameo after cameo after cameo, and I've seen a rumor maybe they call it Deadpool Wolverine kill the Fox universe, and that's like the whole premise is he's going around like trimming the Fox universe, if you will, from like with the TVA, if you will.
I was gonna say, what if they mix everything and Kevin Feige sends Deadpool out to do that?
We're not that lucky. We're not.
You don't
They're
think
not. They're not that creative over there. I mean, what do you
Robot
think?
Kevin sends Deadpool out to trim everything up just for cost reasons?
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, we the budget is getting out of control. These timelines, like if it was that meta, Jim, I would have a great time. Like, do you remember the credits for the first Deadpool where the assholes that produced this kind of thing, like
Yep.
they skewered the whole thing? If they let
Yeah.
them skewer this to no end again, I would just have a great time.
Yeah, me too.
So maybe I'm gonna cross my fingers, but I know I'm not that lucky, really, at the end of the day.
Right.
But yeah, if it's if I had my wish, it would be him going around, literally, like you said, being part of the TVA and calling all these universes with the TVA members, and he's like coming across issues because obviously a lot of these Fox characters are so powerful people, really, at the end of the day.
Right.
So, all right. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna spend the last part of the show talking about Ahsoka, which I assume you have seen, because
Yes.
if not, this is going to be very awkward and very short here at the end of this episode. So if anyone else has not seen the first 3 episodes of Ahsoka, which are now streaming on Disney Plus, don't listen. Go watch them. Come back and listen as we kind of talk about it. And we will also, again, for people, me and Mike will probably cover it at the end of the show because we are going to be halfway. Is it 8 episodes or 6 episodes? Jim, do you remember? 6, isn't it?
I want to say 6. Yeah.
Episodes. Hold on, real fast. Gonna double check again. I think I just did this the other day. Come on, how many episodes is this? Okay, it says 8. Okay, well, yeah.
All right then.
All right, so we'll be halfway through this week, and so Mike will probably return at the end of the show and talk about it. But we're gonna talk Ahsoka. I'm gonna put the time codes in now. Should have done this earlier. So we're gonna talk the first 3 episodes on Disney Plus. So Jim, you're a Star Wars guy. I know you're a Star Wars guy. Yep. Have you ever watched the Clone Wars, the animated show, in its entirety?
Oh yes. Yep.
Okay, great. Have you watched Rebels?
Yeah, more than once. Yep.
Great. So I'm going to go ahead and predict that you absolutely love these 3 episodes.
Yeah, I'm digging it pretty hard.
Yeah. So this show, I've not watched Rebels, but I know Rebels. I know the story points. I know the beats, everything about it, because obviously I follow it in the news. I'm seeing a lot of lines. A lot of people, like, if you are into Clone Wars and Rebels, like, this show was for you. Like, obviously, like, this is a continuation of those. Like, some people call it Rebels 2. Again, this is the character that Dave Filoni was instrumental in creating and running with for years now, since 2008, so 15 years. So absolutely great that he gets to continue along. But I kind of would feel bad for a few people who don't know if you're going in blind for the first time, or with minimal knowledge, you might not be getting as much out of this as other people. What do you think?
Right, and I'd say I've heard this referred to as, this is the way Star Wars should have been moving forward from the beginning, to why are we wasting our time on it? So
Yeah.
I personally, I'm really digging it. I got a few questions, and a few critiques, don't get me wrong, but
Oh yeah,
overall, I think it's kind of a return to form for a Disney Plus Star Wars show.
yeah. I think one of the things for me is the outfit they've put on Rosario Dawson for Ahsoka. The mandrels, whatever's
Oh,
coming out for her head.
yep.
They look way better now than they did the first time she showed up in Mando season 2.
Oh,
They've really fine tuned her live action costume, and that's great. I love the return of David Tennant as Huyang, the robot that's the sassy robot that's always with them, right?
right.
He is from the Clone Wars. He is a droid who teaches younglings how to build lightsabers. And I did not care for Sabine when I watched Rebels, but I really enjoy Sabine in this show more so than Rebels.
Yeah,
And
same
I
here.
don't know if it's the actress who's just selling it, because I think she's more the main character than Ahsoka. It feels like at some points in this.
Right.
So I really enjoy that. Some notable first as well. We get our first two females lightsaber battle as well in Star Wars.
Oh
With
yeah, I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Yeah.
with Sabine and I forget the blonde girl's name. The half Jedi. Again, this is I don't know if it's the last appearance of Ray Stevenson in a project, but obviously he's playing is it Balin Skull, I think is his name in this. A Jedi turned mercenary, if you will. The first appearances of live action Night Sisters as well from the Clone
Oh
Wars
yeah.
novels, which was a fun little thing here. So the show, I would say, is moving a little slow through some of the beats, right? I think we understand where it is, but it's catching some people up. It looks beautiful. It's a beautiful looking show by any
Yeah.
means, and it really has a lot of character development, a lot of story. People, a lot of emotion in these episodes. So that's really great. So I definitely feel some strength towards it. Jim, what about you? How what are some highlights for you or downsides? Whatever you want.
Whatever I want. We're in spoiler territory now, right?
Absolutely. God, I hope
Okay.
we are.
Okay, good. The first thing that catches me is I wish that Rosario Dawson would emote a little bit more as Ahsoka. She's almost too stoic.
Right.
And I understand she's mature and older than what she was when we saw her last in Clone Wars, but um, she doesn't quite feel like the same. And I don't want to say happy-go-lucky, but
Well, the character was called Snips for a reason before, right?
yeah,
Her nickname.
exactly.
She has she's grown up almost too much, overcorrected in the grown up direction.
Yeah, exactly. And that's so that feels like it's a little bit missing, but you're spot on with Sabine. And I agree with that. It almost feels like her show in some instances, but that's okay because the actress is clearly carrying it. Um, the other great thing that I enjoy, I'm nerd enough that anytime I get a choice to pick a lightsaber color in a video game, I'm going orange
Uh-huh.
every time. And so these bad guys' lightsabers being more orange than red, I would almost call it like a blood orange.
Yeah.
Anytime they pull those out, I'm just bouncing in my seat a little bit. But the other thing is why is there a Inquisitor?
Yeah. So that's the big question, right? Why is there this
Yeah.
Merrick, or I don't know his name, Inquisitor? So there's like about 3 billion rumors on the internet. Is this Ezra Bridger, who has been corrupted by the Night Sisters, right?
Right.
Obviously, at the end of episode 3, we see the Purrgil on this planet where they have gone to build this warp thing, which is supposed to be a path between star systems. So obviously, he may have been able to come back somehow, right, on the Purrgil. Maybe drop them off, come back, was corrupted by the Night Sisters, and is wearing this as to hide his thing. Is he possibly a live action version of Starkiller from the Force Unleashed games? Is another
Right.
theory out
Which that
there.
would be neat.
Yeah. Or is he just a nobody? Just somebody else who happened to be an Inquisitor who didn't get killed, right? Who maybe went and worked for the Night Sisters after they shut down the Inquisitorious program. Which one? What are you thinking, Jim? Is there another one I'm forgetting?
Off the top of my head, no. those are about the three that I've really heard. But that leads into a question: if well, I'm blanking his name all of a sudden.
Ezra.
Ezra, yeah. If he were able to come back, that to me would be more of a plot hole, or it just they would have to do a lot of explaining and stretching to figure out why he didn't go back and find everybody from Rebels. Which maybe that's part of the story. I don't know, but which leads kind of into another question of. I thought from Rebels that when they jumped with Thrawn with the Purrgil at the end, it was just kind of a random jump and nobody knew where they went. And then suddenly there's a star map that's ancient that follows that.
Well,
did I miss something?
Yeah, so the way it works, the original star charts, the warp paths were based on following the Purrgil, because that means they had experience of not running into other planets or stars on their paths. So they followed them to chart those star paths. So my guess is, maybe the Purrgil from Lothal went somewhere, they didn't go somewhere random. They went somewhere they've been before, because they have to be safe on those paths. But
Right.
wherever they are,
it's a migration route. Yeah.
Yeah. So where they are now is not necessarily, it may be another point on that migration path. They didn't jump back to the same exact spot in Lothal every time. Maybe they jump to this galaxy and then they jump to this planet that they're building this thing on, and they only know the arrival point, not where they came from there. Right. So that's my theory. Now, mind you, they shouldn't have to explain this very well, and I think they will, as we get a little closer. But the one thing I did hate about this, we got back Mon Mothma, right? Hera is in this, but like the New Republic is already like, yeah, we don't. They're doing the Harry Potter thing. We don't believe the villain's alive. He's obviously dead. He's never coming back. We're too proud to admit something might be wrong, kind of thing. I hate that trope in things, and it's gonna be like one of those things. Like, we've seen Thrawn in the trailer. He's coming back. You're all wrong. So why are we doing this whole standard trope with the government not acknowledging the bad guys there until he is back, kind of deal?
Well, from what I understand, the Asian senator, I don't know his name, but from what I read and saw, he's a character from Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually sets up his fate in Resistance.
Okay.
So they kind of box themselves in, so they're working within the bounds that they already have. So I mean, not to completely defend it, but it kind of gives a little bit more of an idea of why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But no, I kind of agree with you too. It's like, really, you guys just took down a giant empire that was run by Sith, and you're not going to believe this?
Yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah. Right. Like, these are. It's a world. It's a fucking galaxy full of space wizards and stuff like that. Like, they are working in between two periods where they've already set up movies. So you're right. They have very little to do here in the main scheme of things. So it'd be more interesting maybe if they weren't relying on the government. Like, this was more off the books kind of deal. But I guess if they really wanted to put it in there and show, like, yeah, they are on their own at the end of the day, is a little crazy. Now, I will say, going back to Merrick, the character, I just found out Sam Witwer, who played the voice and was the likeness for what's it called, Force Unleashed character, Starkiller, whose name was Galen Merrick. It sounds like Merrock, which is the name. So apparently he could be that character, which would be fun. But I hope it's not Ezra. They got this big actor, and I really hope they find him before the last episode as well, right? Like, I don't want them to be like, hey, it's the last episode and here he is. But if he comes back, I also want to see how long is that, like a 5-year? No, at least 10-year growth on him, right? As a person. Right. What did he do for 10 years out in space? Did he learn new skills? Is he going to come back more powerful as a Jedi? What or not as a Jedi, but as a Force user. And that's the thing I don't like. People say, Ahsoka is a Jedi. She's not a Jedi. She left the Jedi Order. She's just a Force user. She's not a Jedi, so she doesn't have to follow the Jedi way. She's just a Force user who was trained with the Jedi for a little bit, but then left them because obviously she was wronged. So I enjoy more so of her not be Jedi. I did enjoy her blue outfit, her spacesuit again on the third episode where she was on the wing of the ship deflecting blasters. I thought that was cool because she's worn that before and done that in some of the episodes.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
it feels good. Anything else about? I mean, 3 episodes in is hard to say. I'm very excited to watch 4 tomorrow on Tuesday night. Right, like that's my highlight about Tuesday nights now at 9:00. We get to watch Ahsoka. So,
Right.
is there anything else to kind of throw out there before we?
Oh, I was going to say another very bad theory out there is that Merrick might be Kanan, which that would be awful if they did that.
Yeah, no, he's dead. He died.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Now, mind you, Rebels did do the whole thing where they pulled someone out of time, right? Kind of deal the space between. But yeah, he died for a reason. I do not think for a second Dave Filoni would do that to us. Right.
Yeah, I hope.
I don't think you would. I think it'd be interesting. Now the last thing I said, the other rumor is, we're going to get a an Anakin / Vader cameo later in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see that, but I think we need to probably. I mean, the story's moving pretty fast, but I think they need to, get on with some lightsaber battles, Jim. Yep. They really need to start clashing with these Dark Jedi, or telling us who they are. Why did they live after Order 66 at the end of the day?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, at this point, would Ray Stevenson, I can't think of his name in the show, would he have been Balin? How old would he have been when Order 66 happened?
Yeah, 10 years younger, I guess. Or no, not 10 years.
Oh, it was only 10 years ago.
No. 10 years ago was Rebels, so 30 years ago. He'd have been, 30s probably.
Okay, yeah. So that's just, I was trying to figure that out too, about how he escaped. Was he a Padawan that got out, or was he an actual knight at that point?
Yeah, he looks to be pretty. He would have been middle age probably by that time. Right. With that, so absolutely. I think the one thing that Star Wars needs to embrace a little bit more that Star Trek does is the idea that there's more than just humanoids on all these planets. Like there are actually aliens out there. Andor didn't do it at all. Obi-Wan tried to a little bit, right? I think Ahsoka needs to do so as well. I know she is she's humanoid in her looks and stuff like that, but I think we could get some more actual aliens involved. I think would be fun.
Yeah, me too. I just makes me wonder if they're too expensive. That's why.
It could be, but hell, the whole show's based on alien. I mean, like, the Purrgil are like the closest thing we get to aliens so far, and some sassy droids. Now, mind you, they have Hera and Ahsoka in makeup the whole time, so I applaud them for that. But yeah, I'd like to see some really obscure aliens pop in. But anyway, Ahsoka, 5 more episodes left apparently. Middle of the show next week, this coming week. So really hope to see where the back half of the show is going to land for us. So cross our fingers.
Right. Yeah, I hope it's them dealing with Thrawn and not just bringing him back. I mean, like setting up his threat more than just the last 30 seconds. He's back.
Yeah, he's got to come back and actually do something. He's got to come back and have a plan, right? Like that's the important part. Not just showing up and being, he's evil because he exists. He's not a Force user. He's a military strategist. So he needs to come back and have a strategy to do this and take over and see where that is. And same with Ezra. Ezra needs to come back and have growth in his character as well, if you will.
To me, Thrawn is the Star Wars equivalent of Sherlock Holmes in his thinking.
Played by villain from the series Sherlock in the BBC with Benedict Cumberbatch. So so exactly, he's got to come back and prove his value other than just, hey, I'm here, I'm a blue guy, I'm blue, dabba-dee, dabba-da, and I'm evil. So all right, well, anything else on Ahsoka, Jim, before we wrap up today's episode?
Nope, just hope they finish well.
Yep. You gotta pull through real strong and really start hitting with some. I want to see some twists and turns, so some stuff we didn't expect along the way. So, cross fingers. Well, Jim, thank you for being a guest host today. You're a super fan as always. And if people want to know what you're doing, what you're up to, where can they find you at?
I am pretty much HF, like Harrison Ford, 605 on all social media. That's also my PlayStation tag. I think my
It is.
Xbox tag is that.
Yeah.
I don't remember. So, yeah, if you want to find me anywhere, that's the way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure we'll put that in the notes. As usual, people want to find me as Valdan, Valdan, anywhere. You can find Valdan87 on Instagram, anywhere with video games, same thing as it. Now, Jim, do you feel comfortable enough to take us out on the way of the show out?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, go for it.
So I say, and as always, please visit superheroslate.com where you can find it, and you can find us on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and more.
That's right. And if you get a chance, you can like us on Facebook. Give us follow us on X. We don't really put anything on there. Social media. We got rid of social media a couple weeks ago. You guys know this. We don't care. And how do people become a super fan? Jim, you are one of the original super fans. How do people get that status, that badge of honor?
Share the show with a friend. Share the show with a buddy, and buy swag off the store.
That's right. You buy swag. You have a lot of swag, don't you, Jim? You buy some Superhero Slate swag.
Actually, I do. I was going to say
it's pretty good stuff, though. I mean,
yes, it is. I was going to say, and yes, this is geared towards me, but if you could get Mike to design a super fan shirt, not for me, but I mean, just it just says super fan. I think that would be neat.
Yeah, we need a super, and with instructions on how to become a super fan.
Even better, yeah, like on the back or something. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, see, Mike, I know you're not listening, but everyone who listens this far into the episode should tell him, let him know what's up, so he can get on that. So, but anyway, Jim, thanks again for helping out, being a host while Mike's out, and anything else before we sign off?
Nope. Just you guys just keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep super fanning. So,
all right. Well, thanks again.
For the chance.
Anytime, man. And we will see everybody else next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.